Hi, welcome back to Wilde Speculations. I'm Daniel. Scott's not feeling well today. Tonight we're going to talk about Critical Role Campaign 3, Episode 44, Bawdy, Basement Belligerence. It's a good thing Critical Role probably has their own agreement with WotC. Because, man, the plenty in this episode that would set off a potential trigger. If anyone or anything was going to set it off, this was going to be it. For them to pull the license or stop somebody from doing something. But they already have the agreement, so there's probably nothing that WotC can do. Right off the bat, this is Travis's fault. The idea of staging an orgy as an excuse to be here, or just, you could have also just said that you were looking for a place to squat, like as lies go. Yeah, Rose, I'll take being correct about that. Yeah, I don't know what's going on. This episode was long. Like, it wasn't temporally long. It certainly wasn't anywhere near record-breaking for the show, but it was long. Felt every minute of it. And the fight, in the moment, it definitely felt like forever. And part of that is because they didn't actually start the fight. They false started like twice. And Matt in the past has used a timer, the egg timer. And especially on my rewatch, like watching it live, I had thought he should have had the timer for the opening part. But on the rewatch, he really should have had the timer out. Because that increases the tension on the players, makes things go faster, and would have reflected the tension that was completely lost doing an episode break. And maybe there's some there's definitely in the back of their minds, and there was some jokes about metagaming and how they never do that, and Sam looking right down the barrel of the camera and going, later on in the episode. But I think there was some metagaming in the sense that I don't think they wanted to push forward anymore. I think there was not guilt, but I don't know, what's like FOMO, the fear of missing out, is like, but I think they were afraid that they were inflicting that on Taliesin and didn't want to do that. So they were just sort of hemming and hawing about they were more playful and willing to sort of dick around, which I mean is totally legit. If you're a player down and you were expecting them to be back this week and they're not, and last week was a big episode, a big session where a lot of stuff happened, and you're like, if we do that again, it's going to be crazy to, catch them up. But so I think there was some of that in the back of their minds, not wanting to push too far. So as soon as Travis mentioned the orgy thing, and it got a laugh at the table, it was that I think just became the consuming focus. Let's fuck around and waste time and not go anywhere in this episode. Yeah. The turn timer, or the timer on the turn, that's a tough one to get behind. I understand it. But I don't think, for players like Travis or Liam, Taliesin, and to a certain extent Sam, that would be a problem. And Marisha could probably deal with it too. But like Ashley, if Matt turned a timer on her turns, I think it would do more harm than good for her enjoyment of the game. And for some players, having that ticking clock on their turn is not good. Even though you may eke out 20 or 30 minutes a session where you're cutting combat down by that much. I don't know if it's necessarily worth it. If you find at your table that people are more goofing around or whatever, maybe to move things along, especially if you have things you want to be doing, or you want to ratchet up the tension, go ahead and do that. Try it out. See how it works. And I don't know. I hesitate to say if they haven't done their thing, move on by the time the timer runs out. I don't know. But it's the same it's a similar conundrum of other players telling another player what to do, or giving suggestions. It's the same kind of thing, where you're putting pressure on that player. And I don't like to do that. And I don't think Matt does either. And the timer really only comes out from Matt when he's doing what amounts to a skill challenge, with a clear goal and a clear line. How are you going to get from A to B? You're on the clock. But yeah, the 25-30 minutes of sort of dancing around, are we going to do this, are we not going to do this, was a bit much. But it does I did want to talk about one thing in regards to the orgy lie. And that is, how long does it take to don and doff armor? And in this case, particularly, to doff it. Not that two of our principals are wearing armor. Because Laudna and Imogen aren't wearing armor. And I don't know if Chetney does. Like his werewolf form, I think he gets an AC, a natural armor. So I don't know if he's wearing it as Chetney, and he always describes it as clothes that he's taking off. So yeah, I don't know. But yeah, it takes 1 minute to doff light armor, and I think it's a minute for medium armor to take off and 5 minutes to put on, where light is a minute on and off, and heavy armor is 10 minutes, both on and off. Now, they sort of had time in the sense that Chetney suggested this very early on, and so they technically had time to strip those who were committed to the bit, where Imogen, Laura rightly so, realized that she hadn't committed to the bit, so she was going to have to, in the moment, be disrobing when the door opened. The immovable rod on the door was great. And I think they shirtless Laudna without Ashton, yes. The real travesty of the episode. Yeah. We did get a glimpse into how many friends they might have in the adult entertainment industry, or how much consuming of the media they do in this episode for sure. But it does bring to mind what kind of things might crop up in your world building in a D&D setting. And my mind wandered. I was like, well, minor illusion can conjure a picture, and it would be a common magic item if you had like a scroll or something, and all the enchantment on the scroll would be is it just holds the minor illusion there until a new one is put in, would be all you would need. And you could just have pornographers basically just casting into this common magic item. You could also do it if you wanted to go more towards Eberron or some of the stuff that they did in Acquisitions Incorporated, where they're broadcasting stuff, where they have a scrying or broadcasting to other places. That similar kind of magitech. Same kind of thing, where you've got a room where people go into. Yeah. I don't know. Yeah. It's just, why do I have to think about this? And why do I come up with answers and products and scenarios? I guess the mind of a DM, I guess. Because Travis, yes. because Travis is evil. Yeah, and it makes me wonder if Matt is ever going to include that kind of thing. Because his players have sought it out in various ways across the many campaigns. But like, if you look at our world and history, purveyors of such have always been around, and at various points in time and place, easy or difficult to find. And I think Matt is trying to have sort of a wholesome family storytelling. He's trying to keep it Tolkien, and his players keep pushing him towards George Martin, you know? And this is the tension in CR that sort of colors everything. Yeah. But if they had just kept the rod in there, wiped out that elemental, because they could have done it in 1 or maybe 2 turns. If they all concentrated on it, boom, wipe it out. That weakens them. They've got a funnel where the people can come down, they can trap them. There were a lot of ways that team coming in was at a disadvantage. The elemental scout is a good trick, and made me wonder if like mephits, if any table out there has allowed mephits. Raw find familiar, it doesn't work, but with Pact of the Chain that allows imps and the crawling hand or quasits. Yeah, I could see a case being made for mephits as familiars. I've never done it, and no one's ever asked at my table. But like, especially some of the low CR ones, like the 1/4 CRs, I wouldn't have a problem with. But yeah, made me think. They, like I, believed that it was someone from Vasselheim at the house. Turns out it is well, not even Odahan's people, but the latest edition, Ludinus's people, the Ruby. I'm blanking on the name now, but yeah, Ludinus's folks doing his bidding, and Liam later on in the episode sort of stated it perfectly. He just wants to, because Ludinus is an old elf, and so would have known people, if he himself did not live through it, would have known people who did live through the calamity and had living memory of Aor and all the other flying cities. And it kind of makes me wonder how much he actually knows about what happened in those woods. Why the elves had to come south. and if he has been such a dogmatist because he is an infernalist, basically. He has to be the most pious and prosecute the most unbelievers because he himself has been trying to do these things to kill the gods. And I could certainly see how an elf whose family, maybe most of his family, were wiped out during the calamity, might really hold a grudge against the gods. And when he found out this piece of information, that the Ruidus is there trapping something that the gods are afraid of, might be certainly motivated to undo that. And in his long life, has had several solstices, apex solstices, to try something. And maybe he is partially responsible for the downfall of his civilization. It gives some idea about the Luxon and the beacons and why Ludinus is interested, and it's not just dunamancy. It's not just the power of dunamis. It's because the Luxon, if the Kryn are correct, predicts the founding and therefore is a potential ally, or also a potential victim of Predathos. Snoopy, I don't think Ashton has a tie to Ludinus. Although it would certainly track as to why he left. But I don't think that's it. I think that he maybe saw one of his old friends. And it's certainly a way to bring that up. And to get more information. I think the response from Ashton at the start of next episode is going to be, yeah, shit's happening here too. I found, whichever one of his friends that he found. Or maybe all of them. And tells them where he is. And then we will get an interaction there. Because Taliesin has straight up said that he's banking favors so that people will help him with his shit when the time comes. And he has a sense that that time is nearing. So I think that's what he's probably up to. Matt so far has been very good about placing people and places of interest to individual characters in different spaces. Or in the same place, or in the same area. So this time, I think it might be FCG and Ashton have a potential thing, and also sort of Orem, with the fact that Ludinus is in town. Which actually makes it interesting that Ludinus is here. Because why would Ludinus be here? Except for the fact that the Judicators are here. And Ludinus is hoping to snatch that book before the Judicators do. Which is why he's got this lackey watching over the house of the guy. He probably has absolute faith that the Judicators aren't going to find the Grim Verity because they haven't found them yet. Whether or not Lewdness has seen this tome, knows of it, or has a different source documentation, we don't know. And Liam, I think he was trying real hard not to metagame in this episode. And we talked about it last time. You know, how much is it Caleb? How much of it is Liam bleeding in? Because he got that email. So I think Liam knows Matt is on the cusp of revealing something and doesn't want to spoil it for the other players if he does know, or if he has a clue as to what it is. He doesn't want to spoil it. And certainly not for us, the audience. But I just get the feeling that Liam knows Matt's cooking something. I imagine Ashton, because you can go one of two ways. Either it's a personal thing and he found his friends that abandoned him, or he saw something, followed somebody, and will have more information to give to the party. And potentially a way to snip the loose ends that they let get away. I also wanted to talk briefly about large creatures squeezing through small spaces, particularly the warhorse squeezing through a doorway. And as funny as that was, and the rules say you can, but I don't think anyone was counting difficult terrain that way. And Matt seemed to count it with jumping through the window. Chetney had the movement, though it wasn't a problem. I meant to check if elementals can be frightened, because part of me thinks that they can't, that they're immune to the frightened condition. But it saved Imogen, and he never really did like what the elementals are frightening that they can do, and that's each of their version of engulf. And like technically, pate. My brain was trying to fuse pate and Chetney together, and it took me a minute to unfuse that. Cute as it was, I mean, technically Pate should have died from being inside the elemental's whirlwind. But yeah, it's the Pact of the Chain. It's a CR1 creature versus, the CR1/8 creature. But yeah, and I also enjoyed Matt's the spider using the silk to catch the wind. Touch. I enjoyed that. But yeah, the big sort of reveal was during the interrogation. And I was kind of surprised how that sort of went down, because I think they have more stuff at their disposal, other than Chetney peeling fingernails. Which again, kudos to Travis for disturbing his friends at the table. Yeah. Calling in Planesrider Rin was good and a great addition to the scene. I don't know about the logistics of how they're going to get to where they're going. Oh, I was just thinking, because I was like, when Laura was saying that she could get sorcery points back on a short rest, I was like, and you've been so good about being the rules lawyer lately and knowing your shit from your spells and abilities. And she reminded the table and us the item that she has that Laudna gave her. She gets sorcery points back on a short rest. I was like, okay, cool. But Matt, his head's somewhere. Because he's been forgetting a lot of stuff. Like the halflings being able to move through other creatures' squares. And the detect thoughts thing was just last episode. So I do wonder what he, what's going on in Matt's world. And yeah, Rose, he did. Yeah. I don't know. I mean, I don't know everything, and I have to look shit up sometimes. But like the major race stuff, species stuff, for the player's handbook races, like halflings moving through people's squares is a big deal. For me. So yeah, I was shocked that Liam had to remind him of that. Although kudos to Matt, he's like, oh no, okay, well then yeah, you don't even have to, you just go. Rather than try to double down and cover his ass and try to, well, I'm saying this because of this, so that's what you have to do. Which also would have introduced a problem of then technically he would have ended his movement in somebody's square, which you can't do. So just sort of sidestep that issue. But yeah, I'm enjoying Ashley. Just putting everything out of her mind and not even thinking about how big what she's turning into is. And I don't know if she genuinely thought about it, or she just is getting into that sort of zen headspace to play someone of a 6 intelligence, where you just say stupid shit or do that kind of stuff. because Grog did that kind of thing too, where Travis would purposely misunderstand stuff, just because it was funny. But the way that she just has to stop and clarify something, like the interrogation with the of the wizard was the best example of that, where the guy's pretty clearly stating stuff, and the party has sort of had some above table conversation. And I think so Ashley can sort of get everybody back on the same page, or I'm not sure what exactly her thinking was, other than perhaps Fern really isn't understanding this, so she's trying to reframe what has been said and try to clarify. Also, do you have any family? I think somewhere in Ashley's mind, it was the only what experience does Fern have of getting information out of people, and her grandmother's the only one. So how does Grandma get stuff out of people? Well, she always asked about family. Family was usually part of the deal. So that's sort of where she started. Was hilarious and great. And Matt saying, well, we all have family, blood and found. There were a lot of things in that interrogation where Matt was trying to humanize this guy. Including the flashes of his upbringing and the abuse that he suffered. And it gave me a glimpse into perhaps how Imogen may develop. Because when you understand that hurt people, where do you draw the line? How do you define when someone is too broken and have to be deleted? And she can read people's minds, so she can know how broken they are. And if that's going to weigh on her at all. And I think Laura may be dealing with that a little bit, may have that churning in her mind. And it sort of increases her hesitation to use her powers. Because opening her mind has always been a cacophonous, she has that negative thing about minds intruding on her, and she doesn't like a large group of people. And the people that she seems to be going in their brains a lot are the people that they're interrogating. Does that increase her empathy, or does it burn her out? And I think that may also be why her mom has been trying to keep her away. Like, yes, there's a physical danger and perhaps a spiritual danger in what they're doing. But I think, like with nurses, you go into it with empathy, but, there comes a point where your empathy is tested, and your limit might be found. And that break might be a temporary one, or it might be forever. And you get people like Nurse Ratched in One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest, or Mother Teresa, who refused to dispense pain medication because she believed that her patients' suffering helped them get closer to God. And she envied them that closeness. So I'm wondering where Imogen's going to come down on it. And she has, like I said, she has the most contact. FCG also. Not that I'm sure that FCG's empathy is genuine. And I think that's part of his stressing out. Because I think the mechanics are designed such that these boons that he's giving out, and he sort of let it slip a little bit when he's like, you wasted that die. It's sort of like giving advice that no one follows. And that his empathy may have been how he was designed to get close to his target, to kill them. If this is fundamental part of his sort of how he was designed and built. Where that faux empathy is the empathy of a psychopath or a sociopath. They don't really feel it, but they know that putting it forward, making people believe they are feeling it, can get them what they want. And I think that's all sort of bound up in FCG's things, like what's going on with him. And influenced in the mechanics of the design. So, like, why else would him helping his friends, being close to them, make him get closer to murdering them? Unless that's the intent of the design. Is to do this fake empathy thing. I don't know. Travis getting to enjoy his wolf is always fun. And him, I think he really likes being devil's advocate on killing folks that they're interrogating. Let's just kill him. And I think sometimes he misses Grog, because when Travis had those thoughts as Grog would just kill the person. Where Chetney isn't as controlled by his impulses. But he's definitely cold-blooded. It was interesting also to see Laudna, or at least to see Marisha in the headspace of leaning into her sexuality, which we haven't seen, really. And I think it's because of what Ashton was saying to Pate. And like, that ship. I think Marisha's on board. And maybe looking for ways to make it happen. We'll see. I think Marisha probably created Laudna with the expectation of finally not having a ship in a campaign. And I think probably she enjoys it a little too much to not seize the opportunity. Because it is like the most powerful moments in the campaigns have been between characters who've developed a relationship with each other. Like Keyleth and Vex and Percy. To a lesser extent, Pike and Scanlan. And like Campaign 2, Yasha and Bo. I mean, come on. And Jester and Ford. I don't know, that was more comedy than drama. And mostly because Laura wanted it so much. Just because Travis didn't. And all the will they, won't they, she was having fun with too. But yeah, I think, and maybe that's something that some people are missing in Campaign 3. But even in Campaign 1, that didn't happen early. The Briarwood arc is in the 20s episode count, which means, and they started at 8th level, The stream started basically at this point in the character's arc. So, yeah, I think they don't want to rush things. But it's hard to argue that romantic entanglements don't make for more powerful storytelling, more juicier moments in a story, from a myriad of angles. And not just because one or both can be, needing to be saved, threatening them or whatever. It's, Aunt May isn't always in threat of death, but Peter often has something he has to do for her that's conflicting with being Spider-Man or Mary Jane. And it's that kind of potential conflict that's so juicy. Like in Campaign 1, Vex becoming jealous of what's happening between Keyleth and Vax. It's that kind of thing. Like Keyleth didn't have to be in trouble all the time, and she didn't have to keep healing Vax all the. There's a lot of things, but Yeah, I just think. I think Marisha does enjoy it. So I think she's secretly pulling for it. Whether that's good news for you or not, you know, other people's mileage may vary. I don't know. And poor Matt once again uses NPCs to try to pull out of the players where the hell they're going so he can concentrate on building that into the best adventure he can. I don't doubt that he has a rough idea for each location, but as the DM, a rough idea is different than, okay, now I've got to build these maps. And especially when you're using terrain and stuff like that. Matt needs some lead time. Although I understand he has like a baker's rack that he can build different maps on. But still, you know, he's got to have lead time, especially if he's going to be putting in like the extra debris stuff, the sprinkles that he does sometimes. So, yeah. I do wonder, though, if he has commissioned a like a big set piece for the encounter. I gotta believe that he has, and I don't know. It strikes me as an opportunity for like a platforming battle, and for interesting stuff terrain-wise to happen. Especially depending on how, like if something is supposed to happen around the apogee solstice, where we get something like Thor: The Dark World, where the planes are merging, and you can go, or something's happening, you know, planar-wise. But yeah. Hopefully, Taliesin is well, because I did get worried. Because presumably they filmed the one episode before Christmas and New Year's break. And presumably this week's episode was filmed just after the New Year. So that means Taliesin has not been unwell by the time next week happens. A month? So yeah, I started getting a little worried for him this episode. But hopefully he'll be back on Thursday, and we will get the response to the message, to the sending. And we will get something from him. I think if Matt needs to buy time especially, there will be a side quest Ashen will present. It's interesting that FCG put forward, you know, maybe you guys will have to leave without me. if you're gonna go, because I really need to figure this shit out. Because it put them sort of on notice, as it were. And potentially, like, I could see a situation where Matt Matt is probably going to give them the means to travel by themselves without playing Ryder Wren. It's certainly possible. And I'm actually surprised that she hasn't just offered them a scroll like she did to the other Grim Verity. But there's certainly somebody at that school that can do it. And they have the money to buy it. So I don't know. It kind of makes me wonder that Matt has this timetable for them and does want them to get there, but is in no particular rush to push them to go because they don't have the means themselves to get there and back. So, and they need fifth or sixth level spells. I think Plane Shift is fifth or sixth level spell. Yeah, so they would need at least one more level. It would be a quick level transition. Like 2 to 3 episodes earlier than otherwise would be. But yeah, I just think they need to spend some time at the university, I think, to get the resources to be able to get there and back. Because it doesn't really do them any good for Planeswalker Wren to send them to the Feywild if they have no way back. Yes, Granny Mori might be able to control how the time fluctuation happens and have some influence over that. But, she can't really cross the plains for them. And she walked Fern to the gate. And it's possible they find a gateway to the Fae. Or anywhere else. So maybe they'll meet a Horizon Walker Ranger who can find them a portal. And maybe that's what Ashton's doing. So, in any case, we'll have to wait and see for Thursday. If they are going to follow the plan to get to the plains, then I think we'll be there by break. But I don't think they will. I think it's going to be, we actually don't have the means to get back ourselves or get there by ourselves, so maybe we should try to find that, and maybe we should go shopping. So I expect a portion of this week's episode to be a shopping episode, whether that's good news or bad news for you. Comment your feelings. But in any case, we will be here next Tuesday to discuss it with you guys. Take care of yourselves and each other.